Hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to our second edition of Breaking News for this Friday, the first day of August, 2025. We're a bit late getting to breaking news number two for the day. The reason being, I've been working all day on this project I've been telling you about that finally got finished and posted. We will be talking about it first thing tomorrow on our Saturday morning edition of Breaking News. But there are two stories that did come across the wire late this afternoon that are really worth bringing to you. So I thought, well, I can do it late, better late than never. So here they are. First story is from Donald Trump. He orders nuclear submarines to move near Russia in a response to Medvedev's threats. This is from the Jerusalem Post, and everybody else is carrying it too. And then a really interesting one from the YNET website when Hamas crosses a red line in the Arab world. All right, here's a huge headline. Trump orders nuclear submarines to move near Russia in a response to Medvedev threats. I have ordered two nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions just in case these foolish and inflammatory statements are more than just that, Trump said. Now, he posted this today, Friday, on his Truth social network, and he made it very clear that he's not joking. Trump and Medvedev, who is the deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, traded taunts in recent days after Trump on Tuesday said Russia had 10 days from today to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine or be hit along with its oil buyers with tariffs. Moscow, which has set out its own terms for peace in Ukraine, has shown no sign that it will comply. Medvedev recalls Russian nuclear capabilities in Trump's taunts. On Thursday, Medvedev taunted Trump in a Telegram post, saying that Russia would continue with its campaign against Ukraine if some words from the former president of Russia trigger such a nervous reaction from the high and mighty president of the United States. Then Russia is doing everything right and will continue to proceed along its own path, is what Medvedev wrote. And about India's and Russia's dead economics, or dead economies, and entering very dangerous territory. Well, let him remember his favorite movies about the Walking Dead. It shows how dangerous the fabled dead hand can be. Now, the dead hand is a reference to the former Soviet Union's semi-automatic nuclear missile launch system. It remains in use in the modern-day Russian Federation. This came after Trump told Medvedev to be mindful of his words after Medvedev alleged that, quote, the game of ultimatums between the two countries brought the U.S. and Russia closer to war. He said, tell Medvedev, that failed former president of Russia, who thinks he's still president, to watch his words. He's entering very dangerous territory, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Now, what's going to happen? He's moving these ships closer to Russia, as we said, the two nuclear submarines closer to Russia. And it's a game of, well, it's a game, what is it? A game of cat and mouse, a game of chicken, whatever it might be. But it's interesting that he did this. We trust nothing will happen from it. Each country is not, I don't think either of them is dumb enough to start some type of nuclear war over these taunts. Yet Trump has said that he's given Russia just a few days to make a deal with Ukraine, at least a peace deal, or else, and there'll be tariffs and there'll be basically what there'll be sanctions on any countries that do business with Russia. So we'll see what happens there. But we thought we'd bring you that story because it is interesting. It is a reminder that in about a week or so, we'll have, the 10 days will be up and see what happens between Russia and the United States and if Russia does anything with Ukraine. Now, there's a second headline I wanted to bring to you also. When Hamas crosses a red line in the Arab world, because this is something very, very, very special, very unique from YNET analysis. Hamas official Khalil al-Hayya sparks diplomatic backlash in Egypt and Jordan with direct appeals to their citizens, crossing a red line by inciting internal unrest and undermining national efforts to support Palestinians. Hamas senior official Khalil al-Ayya's recent statements have provoked anger in Egypt and Jordan, marking another instance where the terror group's leaders have overstepped diplomatic boundaries. While both nations tolerate Hamas's commentary on Gaza or criticism of Israel, direct appeals to their citizens or critiques of their leadership cross a red line. Addressing the Egyptian people and their leaders, al-Hayya asked, are your brothers in Gaza starving at your border, so close to you? He also urged Jordanians to continue the popular uprising, intensifying efforts to stop the crimes and prevent Israel from dividing Al-Aqsa. And Al-Aqsa, of course, is the mosque on the Temple Mount. It's the third holiest site in Islam today. And it's again, not the Golden Dome. That's the Dome of the Rock. It's on the southern part of the mount. It's a gray building. But Al-Aqsa is actually the official name of the sacred building. The Dome of the Rock never was a sacred building; it was just a shrine. But when you talk about Al-Aqsa, now the entire Temple Mount is called Al-Aqsa. So the article goes on. Egypt and Jordan, keen to maintain their image as supporters of the Palestinian cause, have engaged in global diplomatic efforts through an Arab Islamic committee led by foreign ministers Badr Abdelhadi and Ayman Safadi, along with providing aid, airdrops, and medical care for the Gazans. Here comes the however. However, they firmly reject any incitement to internal unrest. A Jordanian official speaking after Al-Yahya speaks expressed frustration, saying, Jordanians value their country's efforts to support Palestinians and feel Hamas's words ignored these efforts. Instead of gaining sympathy, they offend the people. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, in a speech addressing the Gaza war, and indirectly rebuffed al-Hayya, calling on U.S. President Donald Trump to intervene, while Jordan's king emphasized Gaza needs a strong Jordan, warning that disrupting Jordan's stability harms Palestinian interests. Now, this isn't the first time Hamas has stirred up controversy. November 2023, senior official Khaled Mashal angered Morocco by urging its citizens to demand an end to the normalization with Israel, seen as interference in the kingdom's affairs and an attempt to undermine King Mohammed VI. Both Egypt and Jordan prioritize national security. This is important, national security over Hamas's rhetoric. Jordan banned the Muslim Brotherhood's activities in April, while Egypt vigilantly maintains internal stability. Protests for Gaza in both countries serve as controlled outlets for public sentiment, but when Hamas breaches these boundaries, both nations swiftly remind the group of its place. So it's interesting. Hamas is really feeling bold, aren't they? Because of all these stories now coming from all the Western countries. We are going to accept a Palestinian state. We're going to unilaterally declare it. And more countries are piling on Israel. So Hamas feels so good about this. They can now attack Jordan and Egypt. Not a real bright move. So we're going to see what happens next. Because story after story today that we didn't get to, and we'll talk about tomorrow, is Israel, unless there's some miraculous last minute deal with the negotiation with Hamas. So we'll be preparing for some type of military strategy, which will be much more intense, much more efficient, and much more problematic. So we will see when that happens, and seemingly it won't be soon. Now, as we talked about today in the Temple Mount, we're going to have the day of starting, what is it, tomorrow night? When it happens, Sunday actually starts late Saturday. Israel, the day starts in the evening. The actual day, they count it. And that'll be the day of the ninth of Ab, the recognition of the destruction of the first and second temples. First one by the Babylonians, second by the Romans. And the sadness that's there is a day of mourning, it's a day of sadness because their temples have been destroyed. And yet there's still the hope to build a third temple. That's what they have. We've talked about that. We talked about it today in some length in our first breaking news. Our book, The Jews, Jerusalem, and the Coming Temple, goes into that in great detail. If you don't know the answers to these questions about the Temple Mount, building of a third temple, what the Bible says, please take advantage of it. We've got the book, The Jews, Jerusalem, and the Coming Temple. Also, we sign number 8 of our 25 signs. We're near the end. Preparations are being made to build a third temple. That'll give you a lot of information on the subject. And again, they're from our website, Educating Our World. They're a free download from the website because all of our information is free. Well, sorry about the late meeting tonight, but I figured I'd get these two stories out because it's been a long day finishing this project. We'll have a lot to say about it tomorrow. So hopefully we'll see you then. Until then, I'm Don Stewart saying thanking you so much for watching. Until tomorrow, may the Lord again richly, richly bless.